Former President Barack Obama hasn't specifically weighed in on the Biden situation, but issued a pretty strong warning for Democrats in 2020 moving to the left.
Then we start sometimes creating what's called a circular firing squad, where you start shooting at your allies. When that happens, typically the overall effort and movement weakens.
With that, we bring in our talk radio panel. Rick Unger, radio host from New York City. John Cobalt, based in Los Angeles. Gents, good to see you both. Appreciate it.
Good to be here.
John, we'll start with you. President Obama in the past has called Biden a brother, been very supportive of him, was obviously with him through the death of his son, and yet nothing. Obviously, he was willing to weigh in on 2020, but no full-throated support for the former vice president. Thoughts?
Maybe he doesn't want Biden to be president. Maybe he has other favorite candidates. Although, in a way, his circular firing squad argument really would benefit Biden if you took it seriously, because Biden is a guy that nobody really had an issue with all his life, whether you're totally into his politics or not, and now he's being assaulted by hair-sniffing charges. Well, somehow we went from...
Rick, at some level, I mean, he's up. Biden is up by 10 points against Trump in Pennsylvania. If you look at least a couple of the swing states in the Rust Belt, he is the guy who by far does the best. Do you agree with John that the circular firing squad warning was a little bit of President Obama having the vice president's back?
Actually, no. I actually think that was President Obama expressing some pretty good wisdom. You can be pretty darn sure that President Obama will not weigh in on any candidates until we have a nominee of the Democratic Party. Why should he? I mean, that just wouldn't be the way these things usually go. As for whether or not he supports Joe Biden, I think that's kind of a leap to say that maybe he doesn't. I think he will support, like I will, whoever the candidate is from the Democratic Party. You know, and
right.
Speaking about Biden's behavior, you all remember that aunt you used to have who used to grab you by the cheek and pinch you?
No, I don't remember that, but clearly you do.
I do indeed. I mean, I wish these critics were around then. Talk about invading somebody's personal space. But,
okay.
you know.
Well, that's a nice visual to move forward from. With that, we move to some of the Democrats right now aren't so much talking about winning the 2020 race in the way they won the 2016 race, but perhaps changing the rules along the way. Bernie Sanders with his latest proposal for changing the rules, and then some of the other ones we've heard before. Take a listen.
You're paying a price. You committed a crime, you're in jail. That's bad. But you're still living in American society and you have a right to vote. I believe in that.
We can have national voting, and that means get rid of the Electoral College.
If there was any rule that you could change, what would you change?
60 vote threshold for Supreme Court justices. That would change that today.
Well, at least in Florida, John, felons are going to be able to vote in 2020. Should Republicans be worried?
That's a really great issue to run on. Felons getting the vote. I mean, that's as good as banning cows. It's like a weird game show of can you top this? Who can come up with the nuttier idea that virtually there is no calling for? Nobody in America, other than felons, is calling for felons to get the right to vote.
I don't think they have some constituents, Rick, don't they, within the Democratic Party? Andrew Gillum's looking to sign all those felons up to vote.
Yeah, there are some, and I will tell you, speaking for myself, I don't think it's an issue that I would support. Not everybody in the Democratic Party agrees on that, and even the examples you gave there of different points of view, not everybody agrees. In other words, the Democrats are just like the Republicans. We don't agree on everything.
Yeah, well, there is that. Rick, John, appreciate the time, fellas. Great conversation, as always, and we'll talk to you soon, Rick, as we continue to think about your experiences with Joe Biden. Take care, fellas.
I also haven't met a Democrat that's willing to admit that there is a crisis. And speaking of Democrats, a very popular one, you may remember him, President Obama, is now weighing in on things.
We have not heard from him in a while.
He's not talking about the border, but he's talking about what's happening in his own party. Here is President Obama speaking out in Berlin, talking about his own party, progressives, the left, going too far.
One of the things I do worry about sometimes among progressives in the United States, maybe it's true here as well, is a certain kind of rigidity where we say, I'm sorry, this is how it's going to be, and then we start sometimes creating what's called a circular firing squad, where you start shooting at your allies because one of them is straying from purity on the issues. And when that happens, typically the overall effort and movement weakens.
Oh, I wonder who he's alluding to there.
It's also very easy to talk about unifying and let's get everybody on the same page when you're no longer a politician and you don't have to duke out those fights, with the Senate, with the House of Representatives to get stuff done.
That's true. Joe Biden's been going through a lot for a week. No comment from the Obama team in support of the former vice president. To me, that's interesting.
Of course.
He could have come out and said, I know Joe Biden, he's a great guy, this stuff. Silence. And then he speaks out. I mean, I don't know if that's a shot at the Comrade Cortez or the other newcomers in the House who are demanding pure. I'm not sure, but
I love that Obama.
I don't know what that does.
He sees a party that is moving so far to the left that it's going to become this, really negative thing going into a primary. The Republicans did in 2016. However, your point is a valid one. I know I was understating it there a little bit, but here's the important thing: if President Obama would have gone on stage and endorsed Joe Biden, it would have cleared the field. He would have put behind him the whole hugging problem, and it would have shifted the trajectory. So here he is criticizing that they're shooting at each other, inciting each other, but yet because he doesn't want to weigh in the primary, he could have really put the party back on a central Democratic track, and he didn't.
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Obama is now your centrist in the Democratic Party. Somehow.
That's right.
It's so funny. Just a few years ago, you're talking about how he's this far-left community organizer, and now even he's looking at his own party, and he's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Such a great
You guys got to move to the middle a little bit. It's great stuff.
But put yourself in his shoes. He wants Democrats to talk about extending Obamacare, extending the legacy of his policies that he put through in 2 terms. Instead, they're talking about things that
way past what he did.
Talk about in cow farts and these other things, and he doesn't want that.
Carl Rove, former senior advisor to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, and Ash Scow, senior editor at the Daily Wire. Welcome to both of you. Good to have you here tonight. Carl, can Joe Biden get back up? And today, some interpretations of the laughing stuff was that he kind of stepped in it there.
Well, I think that's probably right. I think, first of all, he was slow. He got attacked on Friday, and it took him really until Wednesday and Thursday to sort of get his act together. And then today, maybe you could say the first throwaway line was funny, but the second one with the child, I don't think, you're either where you are on Wednesday and Thursday, which is, I get it, I shouldn't be doing this, and I made people uncomfortable, I didn't intend to do that, I understand that norms have changed, and I'm going to endeavor to do better, or you don't. And today seemed like a step back for him.
Yeah. Ash, you wrote an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal today, and norms have changed. And Joe Biden actually is one of the people that began that move to changing those norms, right?
Right. I mean, Joe Biden's been on this since the beginning. I mean, it was the Obama administration that had their Department of Education put out new rules saying, students on college campuses don't really have due process rights. They supported the affirmative consent movement. That's basically, if you want to touch anyone, really for any reason, you have to ask their permission first. So this is just all coming around for Joe Biden, and I really can't feel sorry for him on this. I mean, the It's On Us campaign, Believe Women, affirmative consent, these were all things that came up in the Obama administration, and Joe Biden was the one that was there at the Oscars, that's there at every awards ceremony saying, we need to take this issue seriously. I take this issue seriously. Meanwhile, we had all these photos and videos of him clearly not taking the issue seriously, or at least he didn't think it applied to him.
Carl, let me ask you about the piece that I mentioned that Peggy Noonan wrote, because I heard you say earlier today, it's going to be obviously his own decision. But does she make points in there about what's going on in this environment and whether or not he's going to be the guy?
Yeah, well, she made some excellent points. And then there are big questions that he's got to face. Is the Democratic Party now moved beyond him, moved to the left? Is he past his time? Everybody has an expiration date for their political careers. Is he beyond his expiration date? What's interesting is we don't hear that about Elizabeth Warren and about Bernie Sanders, who are roughly the same age. But yeah, does he face some issues? You bet he does. On the other hand, he does bring some strengths. We saw it partly today. Strong support among unions. In the polling, he runs #1. He has a 7-point lead in the Real Clear Politics average and runs well among less liberal and moderate Democrats and does exceedingly well against among African-American Democrats. 44% in the recent Quinnipiac poll of African-American Democrats support him. So you can chart a path to victory for him, but in this election, more than probably any in our lifetime, the day-by-day performance of candidates is going to matter in determining the outcome. And today, I don't think Joe Biden had a particularly good day. Yesterday, good. Day before, good. Not good until last Friday. But today, he should have kept on the track he was on yesterday.
So last night, Brett Baer and I sat down with Howard Schultz, and on the 15th of April, on tax day, ironically, we will sit down with Bernie Sanders, who says that he's going to disclose 10 years of his tax records. But he was also asked about why he had decided to come on Fox News. Ash, let's watch that soundbite, and I want to get your thoughts on that.
Are we going to see your tax returns?
To me, it is April 15th is coming. That will be the 10th year, and we will make them all public very shortly.
What's all? What's all? Just so people know.
All right, let's also play the one where he talks about Fox News. Go.
Are we going to see your tax returns?
You sure are. Look, April 15th is coming. That will be the 10th year, and we will make them all public very shortly.
What's all? What's all? Just so people know.
10 years.
10 years of tax returns.
And by the way, I'm delighted to do that, proud to do that. Hey, Mr. Trump, you do the same thing.
So he's going to get his taxes out there. He wants Mr. Trump to do the same thing. And he says that he thinks that it's important to reach out to Fox News viewers because there's a lot of them. Ash, and then Carl.
Well, I mean, that is a good thing. I mean, a lot of other candidates, you know, the DNC doesn't even want to have a debate on Fox News, and so Bernie trying to reach out, will he be able to actually pick off any? I'm not sure, and I honestly don't think so, because in 2016, had the DNC not kept Bernie from being the nominee, he might have been able to beat Trump. But now, people who may have been Bernie supporters, such as working class Americans, even union people, they've now had, 3 years of Trump. They will have had 4 years of Trump. They've got the tax cuts. They've got manufacturing jobs coming back. Meanwhile, Bernie's out there with the Green New Deal, which would destroy all of that, and saying he wants to raise everybody's taxes. So I don't think he's going to be able to get them back.
Carl, last thought.
Smart of him to come on to Fox. His comment was sort of mystifying, though. He praised Brett Baer for his journalistic prowess and then said he was able to differentiate between Fox News and Fox News viewers. And I didn't know which one he was thinking was good and which one he was thinking bad. And then he went on to say, basically, Fox News viewers were sold a bill of goods by Trump, and his message is, you've been screwed. So a little bit weird response to it, but he's smart to come on. There are a lot of people who watch Fox who like politics and are open-minded to both sides, and smart of him to do so.
I think it's going to be great. It's going to be an interesting night. Karl Rove, thank you very much. Good to have you here. Ash Gao, thank you as well.